Company with the simple mission of creating good products that help feed the world. Lauren is also the co-founder and chairman of the board of the Feed Foundation, a nonprofit organization that supports programs and organizations that are effectively working to fight hunger and eliminate malnutrition throughout the world. For her work with Feed, Lauren was named one of Fortune magazine's most powerful women entrepreneurs in 2009 and one of Inc. magazine's 30 Under 30 in 2010. So Lauren, we are so happy to have you here. Thank you very much for hanging out with the girls today.
Thanks, Brad.
And I'm assuming, are you in New York?
I am. I'm in New York.
Great. So, Lauren, my first question. The Girls Summit, among other things, provides perspective and exposure to global issues for the 21 young women who are here with us. You became an honorary spokesperson for the UN World Food Program and traveled to Chad with this organization. Can you tell our delegates about that experience and how it may have impacted you? I think there's a lot of parallels there.
Yeah, my journey to starting Feed and doing what I'm doing now really did start when I was a student. So I had the awesome opportunity, starting as a sophomore in college, to travel around the world with the UN World Food Program. So actually got a bit of funding from my university in the summer between my junior and senior years and went to Chad, Lesotho, and Tanzania. But also gone to Guatemala, Honduras, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, and other countries. So, you know, that was obviously extremely life-changing. I was very interested at the time, and still am, obviously, in studying development work, and I was majoring in anthropology. And really, the World Food Program was looking to spread awareness among students, and I was just so lucky that they basically kind of chose me to be a student spokesperson. So through that, you know, they really took me to see their operations firsthand, and that was really my first exposure, I would say, to kind of poverty on that level. And after seeing that and playing with kids, you know, may just literally are stunted because of malnutrition and may not know where their next meal is coming from, that's what really inspired me to want to do more. And that's where the kind of idea for the feedback came up.
Right. Well, I think the idea to want to do more is something that many people have, and ideas are easy to come up with, but it's actually taking that idea and bringing it to fruition, which is the real challenge. And you did exactly that with your Feed program. What I'd love for you to do is talk a little bit about Feed and how it came to be, and just a little bit more about the organization.
Sure. So the idea for the Feed bag, see, I have one here.
Great.
Always one on hand.
I see them everywhere.
So our signature fabric is burlap. So I kind of had this aha moment of, I love design and was studying design at the time, as well as kind of traveling during the summer with the World Food Program, and thought of the idea for the first Feed bag, really because the cost to feed a child in school is so little. So the program that I saw on all those travels I just mentioned that I really fell in love with is called school feeding, where children in 62 of the poorest countries around the world are given a free and nutritious school lunch. And really it's that school lunch that's incentivizing parents to send their kids to school. Kids are staying in school longer, they're learning better. Obviously when girls, you know, get an education, they're more likely to break out of the poverty cycle that they were born into, and their families will as well. So it really has, education, as we know, has all these amazing ripple effects. And I thought, you know, I was shocked. So it cost 10 cents, only 10 cents to give a school meal. And you start doing that math. So you go on these trips and you come back home and, you know, I'm embarrassed to say, but this could have bought 40 meals. Right. And you just start doing that math and it can kind of drive you insane. So the idea I had was, you know, why not design a really cool bag, something that's really indicative of the cause. So I chose burlap and made it kind of rugged and cool. And then also, you know, attach a donation to the cost of the bag. So instead of consumers saying, okay, it gives a percentage of profits or proceeds, which is great, this is saying when you buy this, you're giving X amount of meals. So the first bag feeds a child in school for 1 year. So it's very tangible and very meaningful for consumers because they know exactly the impact their money is going to have or their purchase is going to have. And that's kind of the feed model. So every product we've made since has a number on it, which clearly signifies the amount of meals we're able to give through that purchase or amount of children we're able to feed through that purchase.
That's great, and I think the power of choice is amazing. So when you give consumers the opportunity to give back, you're proving that they are willing to do that. Obviously, you had the awareness from your travels and then this great idea, but I'm sure there were a lot of trials and tribulations from concept to execution. These girls are going to go back home and start up some of their own businesses, organizations. Can you share with us some of those challenges that you faced and struggles and what you got you through those challenging times?
Sure. I really had no idea what I was doing and thought of the idea again for the first bag before I even graduated college. So I was a junior in college, finally had the bag by the time I was a senior, but kind of didn't know where to take it from there. And I actually initially intended it for the UN World Food Program to kind of sell themselves as a way to raise money and awareness for the school feeding program they're doing. So about, a year and a half later, I had the bag made. Amazon.com, I met someone at Amazon.com. They placed their first order with us for 500 bags. And I was like, wow, we're in business now. Okay, World Food Program, just sign here on the, contract and we'll ship them the bags and we'll feed, 500 children for a year. Isn't that amazing? And, unfortunately, they just could not do that. They said they came back, their legal team put a kibosh on it and just said, we can't be the seller of a product. So that's when it kind of was like, okay, wow, the way I was intending to do it no longer is going to work. How do I still make this happen? So we have these great bags that I'm proud of that I think is like a great idea and that I think people would really get behind. And, I have Amazon.com. I have a vendor ready to purchase our bags, a retailer. And that's when I started the company Feed Projects. So we're a for-profit business. We're a social business. We give most of our profits away, or at least half of the profits away. And that I guess was the first of many different challenges. And then you start to learn, okay, what does it take to warehouse and ship and the logistics and put up an e-commerce site and market and message and pay salaries and pay on office, find an office. We worked out of my apartment for 4 years. So it really started and is still very grassroots and small. My team is now a team of 10. So we're still very small and growing, but also at the time I would say, which is something that you guys all have to your advantage a little bit now, is that the idea of a social business is a little more known. Mm-hmm. Obviously I grew up with Paul Newman and his salad dressing that gave back in different models here and there, but I feel like it's really much more prevalent now. And even in America and in different parts of the world, there's a new kind of company standing. So there's an Inc., there's an LLC, and now there's an L3C. And L3Cs or B Corp signify that the company is founded for a social purpose. Mm-hmm. So now there's even kind of infrastructure structures that really call out, that we are a social business. And, yes, we may get investors and we may operate like a normal business because we want to stay around and grow and be profitable and pay good salaries and all that. But really at the core of what we're doing is kind of our social mission and social purpose. So when I started, I had not even heard that term, social entrepreneur, social enterprise, and now I would say it's much more prevalent. So I think it's fun that there's a lot more options and freedom. You don't have to be just a nonprofit or just a for-profit. You kind of like blend that into whatever you want it to be.
It's a very good point, and there have been some hugely successful companies that follow in those lines. Tom's would be one that comes to mind, Warby Parker. You've chosen to help people in countries other than your own. I know that you now are working on some domestic projects, but can you share some of your insights from and learnings and challenges from the work that you're doing in other countries, and what struggles you may have encountered from doing that?
Sure, yeah. With other countries, I mean, each country and each situation of hunger is so specific to that country or region. Because obviously hunger can be caused by drought, it can be caused by war and conflict, it can be caused by, so many different things. And really what we do is sort of, feed is the conduit or sort of connector between individuals and organizations that are on the ground in specific programs that are really helping to fight hunger. So we ourselves are not the ones delivering the food aid, but we do work with, UN World Food Program, UNICEF, Feeding America now in America, and other, more established organizations that are really doing these programs well. So fortunately for us, the issue of sort of how do we get this food to these people, we're not in the nitty-gritty of that. We're more helping kind of market and fundraise, I would say, for those specific efforts. Because it's such a challenge. And Chad, which you mentioned earlier, what I saw in Chad, it's a landlocked country. It's, in between. It's just a tough situation. And really the ground there is very hard to even grow anything. So it's a tough place to live, period. But it also, at the time when I visited refugee camps where Sudanese people were flooding through the border because of, the conflict in Sudan. And so Chad, that's already a very poor country, was now having to support all these other people coming in. And that, was very kind of dire and very tough to see. But I think, each country has their own set of challenges. And I think the key is to find people out there who are really addressing the issues and doing a really good job at it and partner up.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point to make, that you don't have to do everything yourself and go it alone, that if you find people who are good at one thing and you can develop, as you said, the channel and have the people who know how to get access to partner with them, I think that makes a lot of sense. I have one last question, and then I know that the girls would love to do some Q&A with you. I know that you've begun some expansion plans within the U.S. with Target. So can you talk to us a little bit about the partnership and really around the partnership side of things and how that came to be and why that's important for Feed?
Ever since starting Feed, again, I started because of my experience with the World Food Program and traveling around the world, but I was obviously aware that hunger does exist in America. It's just a different type of hunger, and we're fortunate in America that there's more of a safety net, whereas in a lot of these countries there's just not a safety net the way there is in America. So, years down the line, we've done smaller things here, smaller initiatives, but I really wanted to do something big to address the issue of hunger in America, and unfortunately since the recession too in 2007, so after I started Feed, the issue of hunger in America has only gotten worse. So currently 50 million Americans are food insecure, which means, that they don't necessarily know where their next meal is coming from. And that's, really kind of crazy in a country of plenty that issue really does exist. So in thinking of how to do something big, I wanted to find a big partner. And Target really is so philanthropic. They have such a great sense of design, which is also important for me. And I wanted to work with someone who, really got it, and they really do. And so we're launching in a few weeks. Actually, the launch party is in 2 days, which is kind of crazy. The Feed USA collection for Target. So we designed 50 pieces together, from denim shirts to bags to plates to blankets to a bike. And each in the Feed model has a number on it, which signifies the amount of meals we'll be able to give through that purchase. So, and really to speak to partners and the don't go it alone thing, which is so true. A lot of, I've built the Feed brand a lot through doing sort of strategic partnerships, and that's not the only way to do it. But it's great when you're doing something like Feed, because we don't have a big budget to do marketing the way Target does.
Right.
So they're really paying, for a lot of this amazing brand awareness for us. And on top of that, they've gone behind this in a big way. So the goal for the Target partnership specifically is to give, hopefully, if we sell through a certain amount of products, to give 10 million meals to Americans. So it's a huge goal, and really you can have set those big goals when you have a big partner.
Right.
So I'm very excited about that.
Well, I think congratulations are in order. From 2007 to 2013, you've made some phenomenal progress. So I would love to give the girls the opportunity to ask you some questions. We don't have a ton of time. So does anyone want to start out with questions for Lauren? Where's the microphone?
Hi, I'm Violette, and I represent France. I just had a question regarding what you said about the fact that you don't deliver the food, and I was wondering how you ensure that it actually gets there, and to let people know who the people who bought the bags the bag that they bought actually delivered the food, because I know that we face very often today programs where it's like, oh, if you buy a t-shirt, 10 cents will go to this, but it's sometimes hard to feel like what you're buying or it's actually going to reach individuals. And obviously, it's very, very good intention, and it probably gets to the individual, but I feel like sometimes something we regret is that we don't really see the result, because it's kind of lost in this big system, in these big product that say, oh, well, 10 cents will be given to UNICEF or something, but we don't really see the results. So I was wondering how you kind of ensure that happens, and that people know that the money they give actually goes to that meal.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. First of all, like you said, it is a ginormous system. So even though we've donated over $6 million, which to me is huge, to the World Food Program is not that big, because they're literally delivering food around the world, and governments mainly are funding their work. So it is somewhat impossible to say, okay, this this bag of rice is literally going to go there. But what we do is we earmark specifically to their school feeding program, and then that money does go, to their school feeding program to buy often, which we like to support also, buy locally. So buy, food rations within the countries that the food is then going to go back to support. And I wish I could kind of connect that further for people, meaning to say, okay, if you buy this bag, you're going to feed this exact child or this exact school even. But it's hard to really dial it down, given that, these organizations' operations are so big. So what we have done as a way to do that, we do work with artisans in India, in Kenya, and in Guatemala. And when we sell a bag that is made in a specific country, we're able to then give meals in that country. So it creates a 360, and obviously it's doubly good because it's supporting the livelihood of artisans within that country. So that's just one way we can kind of connect it a little bit closer. And I think it depends on, what cause you're trying to address, and as to how kind of micro you can get into actually who specifically you're helping. And the way we've been able to dial it down is really the meal numbers and the metrics. So we're not just giving blindly to the World Food Program. Again, we're kind of specifying it's their school feeding program. And truly it comes down to going, I go on at least 1 or 2 trips a year with them to visit different programs and see it in action. But it does come down to trust. I'm not in their day-to-day operations. I'm, trusting that they're a well operating and effective organization, and that this program is really working for kids. And that's what I've seen around the world. But again, I'm not there day-to-day, literally handing over the bag of food. So I think it really does come down to trust.
Yeah, and working with credible organizations, as you said. I think we have another question.
Yeah. Hi, Lauren. I'm Linda. I'm the delegate from Australia. I just had a quick question to ask, which is the whole phenomenon of slacktivism that came up last year with the whole Coney 2012 campaign, that kind of thing. Do you feel that people who are buying feed bags or the other feed merchandise which you're introducing, do you think that's quite, I guess, a superficial involvement in the whole field of activism from people who only perhaps buy a bag but then don't really grow to understand the whole field of development which it underpins? And if so, like, how do you think that the transition between someone buying a bag and really becoming interested and involved in these sorts of issues might occur?
Good question. Yeah, I know, slacktivism, I love that term. Really, though, in thinking, for me, slacktivism was somewhat my goal, meaning world hunger, I just think is this massively overwhelming issue, and very few people actually want to dedicate their lives to working and addressing world hunger. So I set out to create kind of an easy way for people to get involved in hunger, and that's where the idea for the feedback came. So in a sense, and hopefully what I always say is, the number one goal is obviously raising funds. So every bag sold, whether someone really cares or doesn't really care, we're still going to make that sale and get that donation. Hopefully they care. And hopefully, more importantly, all of our bags, the branding on them, our products, we don't make just bags, but has feed really giant. And the hope is that it really becomes a conversation starter. And I've experienced this, as an anonymous person walking down the street, people will say, oh, wait, what's feed? And hopefully the person who's carrying that bag knows what it means and can explain it. So for me, I really do want to engage people who, hopefully maybe feed will be the entry point for them really to being educated about hunger and wanting to get more involved. And that's why actually we did start a feed foundation. So for people who want to donate more or get more involved in different ways, we have a feed foundation, which they can do that through. But for the most part, the majority of our money's been raised, through people who just want to do a little something or want to give a gift that has like a little bit more meaning. And that's where, the feed bag and feed projects, the for-profit company comes to play. So, I would hope, I just think we're all so busy and everyone has 8 million things and 8 million causes. And I would love for everyone to kind of dedicate their lives to solving hunger. But I know that's probably not going to happen. So, for me, I guess I'm more of a realist in saying, okay, at least if they can do a little something, and here's that little something, buy one of our products because we will guarantee it will give X amount of meals. That's kind of an entry step, I guess, if you will.
Great. I think we have time for one very quick question and one very quick answer, Lauren. Do we have someone who can ask a quick one?
Okay, I'll keep it really short. So I'm Carmina. I'm the delegate from Japan, and actually I founded an organization called the Sustainable Fashion Initiative at your alma mater, your undergraduate alma mater.
Hi.
Hello. So I had a question about, whenever I think of the fashion consumption sphere, there seems to be two main trends that come up. The trend of using fashion as in social good, like feed bags and Tom's shoes, this buy one, give one concept. But there's also a very prevalent rising trend of fast fashion, or using some very environmentally harmful chemicals to create fast fashion and create very cheap fashion.
Can we get you to ask the question, because we really are short on time?
Okay. So I was wondering, how do you think these two trends intersect that we can leverage to create our own sort of initiatives and businesses like yours?
Of fast fashion. Yeah, I think, I think the world is moving so much more quickly. Every year it seems to speed up more and more, and this notion of H&M and Forever 21 and Zara and all these companies that kind of see things on the runway and immediately copy and put out there. I don't know. I think there does need to be kind of this movement back towards slow fashion and really caring about where your products come from. And not caring in a sense of, I care, but caring in a sense of, I'm not going to buy something unless I truly believe in this brand or this company. And there's a great study that just came out last year from Edelman, where it says that 89% of millennials, if price and quality are the same, would prefer to buy consume from a brand or buy from a brand that stands for something that's socially good or gives back in some way. So there definitely is a growing consciousness, and especially among our generation, for products and for companies that are truly and meaningfully giving back and, ethically sourcing and all that. So I'm very hopeful that that's kind of the direction we're moving, but, there is kind of this tidal wave of fast fashion. So I don't know. We'll figure that one out.
Well, Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I think you brought some great insight to the girls that hopefully they'll use over the coming days and with their recommendations. And good luck with your next venture with Target.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I think you brought some great insight to the girls that hopefully they'll use over the coming days and with their recommendations. And good luck with your next venture with Target.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.